Sean Ross Sapp here, Fightful.com. It is June the 4th. We had a presence at today's CM Punk, Colt Cabana, Chris Amon trial lawsuit. Steve Muehlhausen was there. I have him on the line. Steve, how are you?
Hopefully we're not going to talk too much about lumps, but I think we're going to.
They are not of the lovely lady variety either. Lumpgate,
not even close,
is running wild right now.
I texted you that when we were talking earlier today, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe we're going to talk about something else when we get to this afternoon session, and it was a lot more about lumps. So definitely Lumpgate 2018 is running wild. Brother.
What I gathered from your notes is that the judge seems to be getting very impatient with the attorney of Chris Amon. Would that be correct?
That is correct, and she's also getting agitated with both sides. It's a lot of Amon's side, just because it seemed like their attorney, when it came to Brooks, April Mendez Brooks' side, he was just unprepared. It was like every time he says, look at Exhibit 10, she's looking, and what he's talking about is not even there. So it was after the third time she's getting clearly annoyed. And I talked to a lawyer yesterday and this morning, and who's had this judge, and she doesn't tolerate She doesn't tolerate incompetence very well, especially when something that you should be prepared for. And she was clearly agitated with the side of Chris Amon, but there was moments to it that she was getting agitated with CM Punk and Colt Cabana's attorneys as well. So it wasn't a total one-sided, hey, this is all your fault, but she's just the wear and tear of this trial, and the fact it's due to being about a podcast is, I think, what's really started to get more agitating for her than anything.
And ultimately, it seems like Chris Amon, who did get promoted, I believe, shortly after the podcast dropped, he's basing this on the fact that essentially his Thanksgiving was ruined because he was reading mean tweets.
Absolutely. And this is the part that I want a lot of people to understand, I want our listeners and our readers to understand, is the fact that after reading what is going on the last week and what's going on today, I have to say right now, Chris Amon hasn't proved anything beyond what you just said. His Thanksgiving got ruined. He got some mean tweets directed at him, and that was really it. He hasn't proven anything. He didn't get fired by WWE. He didn't get demoted by WWE. I guess he has a practice outside of WWE. That has not been ruined either. So it's like, the hard part is trying to figure out here where the defamation is coming from here and how it affected him and his job and his livelihood. And so far, and all the evidence has been presented. We got closing arguments tomorrow, but so far, Chris Amon hasn't proven much beyond Thanksgiving being ruined and some mean, hateful tweets.
Well, I had to cover the podcast. I can tell you that my Thanksgiving was also ruined that year, having to cover that. But it was revealed that CM Punk... Go ahead.
I was just wanting to ask you, though, did you still eat your turkey? Did you have a whiskey or two? Because I know in Kentucky, whiskey's pretty popular there. So
I don't drink alcohol, actually. I also didn't have a Z-Pack, which CM Punk, he had revealed throughout last week that Chris Amon would often hand him antibiotics in an envelope, but then later on it was revealed that CM Punk was never flat out diagnosed with a staph infection, which is what he claimed on the podcast. Based on what was said today, how much attention was paid to the fact that CM Punk would later confirm he was never actually diagnosed with a staph infection? It ended up being a cyst, correct?
That's what Amon's attorneys are claiming, but CM Punk stayed steadfast in the fact that the Dr. Patrick Duffy did tell him he had staph infection. He's remained, regardless of what Amon's doctors have said, texts that were exchanged between him and his wife, he has remained steadfast in the fact that Dr. Patrick Duffy told him that he indeed had staph infection.
Well, it is very clear that the lump which has, it's almost a fable in size, everywhere from a quarter to a lemon lime to a tennis ball, in which apparently caught the attention of the jury. It was around for quite a while. It was around, and WWE, after the claims were made, sent us like video of them zooming in on his ass over and over again to be like, hey, look, there's no lump there. Well, later it was cleared up that that lump was about at the star level on his tights, and he did show off the area on a radio show in late 2013 before he left WWE. So whether or not a lump existed is almost not even up for debate at this point, because so many people have seen it. They actually had a massage therapist in the courtroom today, Steve.
Yes, they had a massage therapist who worked on him approximately, for what she said, 20 times in a good amount of time. And, you know, she says that she first noticed the lump in October, and his visits on October 2nd and October 4th. And I think and also a key in this is the fact when AJ Lee, April Mendez-Brooks, whatever you want to call her, she says she first noticed, and you guys, everyone will like this, she noticed the lump the first time they were intimate in August of 2013 when they were the beginning month of when they started dating. So you got to look at this lump as the earliest recollection that anyone knows of this is August of 2013. The massage therapist noticed it in visits of October 2nd and October 4th, but then in her deposition it said it was either then or the visit on January 30th, which was 4 days after the Royal Rumble. So the earliest that this thing started to appear from AJ Lee's recollection, and she would know, she saw him naked, was August of 2013.
CM Punk was insistent that he finished the Royal Rumble match after he took a clothesline that gave him a concussion. There were text conversations between Cabana and Punk. Now, there are rumors that this lawsuit may have caused a strain on Punk and Cabana's friendship. How would you describe their interactions within the courtroom that you saw, at least?
You know, they were talking when I first walked in. I walked in actually with him and AJ Lee and Punk's attorney. They were talking, and then when I was walking down the hallway, they were walking down, and I know him. Me and him, I've done some interviews with him in the past,
yes.
And so we talked for a brief second, and just said, "Hey," he's like, "Hey, good to see you." He's like, "I'll see you this week for the UFC stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I'll see you in a few days." And we left it at that. But then when I got in, he interacted with Cabana briefly. And then court did start, and then he went up to the stand, and then there was like a 10 to 15 minute recess, and they were talking for a minute out in the hallway, and then they had an interaction when we had a great there was a sidebar about the great conversation about temperature between O'Hare Airport and spa massage places in Chicago, and they had Punk went over to him a couple times. They chatted until the judge and the attorneys came back. So there was some laughing, but it's hard to gauge on how that relationship is these days. I've heard different things, but nothing that's been confirmed by either party.
So another issue that was brought up was that CM Punk said that he did not grant Amon permission to essentially throw HIPAA out the window in drafting that cease and desist. Now, maybe clear that up for me a little bit. Is he saying that a HIPAA violation was made in the fact that Amon mentioned something in a cease and desist that went to Punk and Cabana?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
That is correct.
And that has to make you wonder, with Chris Amon questioning or at least filing this lawsuit on the claim that this affected his reputation. I would imagine that something like that would definitely not help his reputation. There was a break right after, and as you mentioned, AJ Lee would return and do more testimony, and then the massage therapist also did it. But there were also text messages shown between Punk, Zack Ryder, and Kurt Hawkins is brought up, and I guess that Ryder recommended Punk talk to Kane because Kane had a similar situation with a lump on his back.
That is correct, yeah. That is correct. Yeah, and kind of I want to go back just a little bit to what you were saying. You were talking about the HIPAA stuff, and this also started with with Amon talking to Jericho and a couple other guys, and it was brought up last week. And I was talking to my wife about this because my wife's a nurse at University of Chicago, which is one of the preeminent hospitals in the entire country, in the entire world. And we were talking about HIPAA in particular, and she's like, "That's a clear violation. Like you can't say that in a text message. You can't say that in a lawsuit. That's patient-doctor confidentiality. You can't go and without that person's consent." And obviously that's not what happened here. And I think regardless of what happens in this case, I think that's something that because it was brought up a lot in terms of HIPAA and in terms of concussions. And I think that all of this is something, Sean, that I think going forward, regardless of what happens here within the next few days, that's something I think if a lawsuit's going to happen, that's going to be a big point of contention between CM Punk and the WWE. Because I think that is going to, if it happens, that will definitely get brought up.
As we film this, it is Monday. Closing arguments on Tuesday. That will be very interesting. Steve will be there for that. We will speak to him again. Anything that, any fireworks you're particularly looking forward to while covering that, Steve?
No, I'm really intrigued by seeing if anyone else is going to crack. Because there were a couple points today where, I give Amon's attorney a lot of credit. He was drilling CM Punk pretty good. And there were times where Punk was getting agitated. So I'm kind of really looking to see what the reactions or the facial reactions will be from Punk. And Cabana's been pretty cool, calm, and collected. I give AJ Lee a lot of credit. I think her and the massage therapist I thought were the key witnesses today. I think Punk really didn't help himself here. So I'm looking forward to seeing just the facial expressions, seeing if there's going to be any more explosions from CM Punk. But I think tomorrow it's just going to be run in the middle. Each side's going to state their case of the Amon side of why he should get $1 million, if he can prove defamation and why, and then on the Punk side of why they shouldn't have to hand over $1 million to Dr. Christopher Amon. I think we're going to get that. We may get a verdict tomorrow. I would highly I wouldn't expect it. But while other things have happened, the judge said if the jury wants to stay, as long as they want, the jury can stay as long as they want. So it could be either a long day tomorrow or it could be a very short day tomorrow.
You got to believe that a CM Punk is eager to have a verdict ASAP. He's got to weigh in on Friday. Fortunately, it is on Friday morning, so it's unlikely it will drag out that long, but he does have an early weigh-in on that day. How did he look today?
I thought he looked great. And I seen a picture that surfaced on Duke Rufus, his coach, Duke Rufus's Instagram yesterday. He looked in fantastic shape. He looks great. You can tell he's a little tired. You got to figure I don't know if he's going to Milwaukee right after court and coming back. I don't know exactly what he's doing in terms of that, but he looks a little tired, but looks in great shape though. But things you have to remember. Wednesday is the open workout, and that's at 5:40. His open workout is currently scheduled for 5:45 Central Time on Wednesday, and then Thursday is the Ultimate Media Day, and he's scheduled to speak. I think it's between 11 and noon Central Time. So as of right now, I talked to the UFC last week, and they said right now nothing has changed. They'll plan accordingly of what happens going on with this case. But as of right now, those are his media commitments, and then the early weigh-in Friday morning. The weigh-ins start at 8 a.m. local time. So it's going to be interesting, I'll say the least. And with the weigh-ins on Friday, I think he'd weigh in right away and get to court if the trial is still going on and we're awaiting a verdict. But I think for his sake, he has to hope it ends. I would think no later than Wednesday. This can't drag out too much longer because he will have some weight to cut.
Guys, we will be here on Tuesday. We will talk to Steve again. He will be in the courtroom for closing arguments. I want to thank all of you who joined us live. If you're watching on demand, leave us a thumbs up, subscribe, and follow along at Fightful.com. Steve, I want to thank you so much for joining me.
All right. Thank you, Sean. Talk to you tomorrow, buddy.